Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is Transfers Live. Joining me, as always, is Mr. Joe Smith. How are we doing, brother?
Good, how are you?
So it's been a while since we've done a live podcast together, isn't it?
It's been a little bit.
How long? About
3 hours.
3 hours?
Yeah, but this is different because there was no transfers in that.
There was no anything in that. It was just Stephen Howson shouting at us for most of it.
It's good though, check it out.
Yeah, it was actually. It was a good laugh. But we're back on the old routine.
Yeah.
Transfers.
Yeah.
We're talking about
Varane.
Varane.
The big one.
Pau Torres.
Pau Torres.
Jadon Sancho, because it's the law. We've
Yeah.
got to talk about him. Kieran Trippier.
Yeah.
That's going a bit Pete song.
Yeah.
We'll get into all that. Also, we've got some outs as well.
Yep.
Paul Pogba, what's happening with him? Not saying he's an out. What's happening? We'll
Might be
find
an
out.
out though. He's not in, is he?
No, exactly. Also, Axel Tuanzebe, Brandon Williams, Diogo Dalot. We're going absolutely defender potential loan deal crazy.
Crackers.
Crackers, you could argue. At Manchester United. As always, get involved in the comments, get involved in the chat. Give us a like, hit that like and share button. Let us know what you think about anything. Let us know if you've heard any news. You lot are ITK, as they say. So let us know if you've heard anything at all. Do you know what? Let's start with it, get it out of the way, and then move on. Because we have to do the obligatory Jadon Sancho story. Because we can't just ignore the fact that Jadon Sancho is more than likely coming to Manchester United soon. We know there's a bid. I've not got anything fresh or new to tell you. So we'll just do a small recap. And then
Except
we'll
them
move
fresh
on.
garms, mate.
Fresh gams? Well, they're the same gams I've had on all day, so,
Well,
you know, they are fresh-ish.
Yeah.
So the latest, as you can see there on the graphic, is United are edging nearer.
We've all been there.
Hey, we're edging nearer to sign Sancho. United have made an improved bid for Borussia Dortmund forward Jadon Sancho, which is believed to be worth more than £75 million.
Oh, right. Thanks for being specific on the bid, by the way. How much is it? More than 75 million? Because that's what the last one was.
Yeah.
65 plus 68 plus 7 in achievable add-ons. This one is an improved offer, thus more than that.
Thus, that's not a word you hear very often.
No, not in my house you do, mate.
Yeah, did you use it?
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Yes.
So what does that mean? Thought to be more than. Right, thought to be more than. So there's a possibility that it's not more than. The last bid was 75 million with add-ons included. So there is a chance that this bid is for less than the original bid because it's thought to be more than. Who knows? Could be less than. Could be just an £8 million bid. See if they didn't miss that we dropped a zero off it. Thought to be more than 75. Fucking better be more than 75 million.
That's just another way of saying believe to be, innit? Because that's the sort of, when you're going into transfer sort of speak bingo, believe to be in the region of.
Yeah.
That's the favourite, innit? Believe to be in the region of.
Yeah, so surely this is more than 75 million. None of this thought to be, because if it isn't, we've bidded less than we bid last time. So obviously Sky Sports have heard, United have made another bid. We don't know how much for, but just rest assured a bid has been made. And as far as I'm aware, it hasn't been rejected yet. Yeah. I don't know whether it's been accepted. I don't know how long these things take. Often you hear a bid has been rejected the same time you hear that the bid was made. Those news stories come out sort of simultaneously most of the time. So this suggests to me they're mulling it over a little bit. But we did talk about this the other day a little bit. But, you know, like I said, we've got to give the latest update on Jadon Sancho, haven't we, before we move on.
Yeah, we will move on. Listen, lots of people in the chat already. Someone saying Talk Sport has said Dortmund says £77 million or nothing. I mean, I don't really put much weight behind what Talk Sport say, to be honest with you. They might be right, they might have got it right, but they're not someone I sort of turn to when I want to know what's going down with transfers. As always, we will keep you posted. Let us know what you think about Jadon Sancho and all the other stuff. We've got a super chat from Saber MK42. He says, I like the idea of signing Pau Torres because he sounds like a comic book sound effect.
Pow.
Pow.
Kapow.
Kapow Torres.
Yep.
Raz Mitch in the chat says S. Burge would be a steal and he'd improve at United. Sander Burge, really? No, you're not feeling that one?
Why?
No?
I don't know, he wasn't that good for Sheffield United.
Well, that doesn't mean that he can't come to Manchester
It doesn't
United
mean that, you're
and
right.
tear it up.
He could be alright, I don't know. I don't think he's proven enough.
No.
I think, in theory, United should have the money to allow players to become good enough before we sign them, rather than buying players and hope they become good enough at United. I know we've always done a mixture of the two, but if it's such an important position, why risk it on another young person that's never really proven themselves? Wait a little bit, spend 60 million on the right player who's proven it, and do it that way. I think let's not buy another midfielder that hopefully will come good.
No, I'm with you. I think there's a fine line between potential and then just a massive gamble. And if you look where we're at and where other teams around us are at, we can't be buying more potentially decent midfielders in a couple of years.
Yeah.
We need midfielders, especially who can come in and do a job. Now, should we move on?
Yep.
We've dealt with the Sancho
That's
thing.
enough.
That's enough.
Yeah.
Right.
That's your update for today.
You don't want any more. Right?
That's it.
Right, seriously. Ramos.
Yeah.
We've gone from, believed to be in the region of, to open to the idea of joining Manchester United.
Says who?
It's, says lots of people, basically.
Sources.
Sources,
Right.
them,
Right.
that lot, or you lot, as McCall would say. It says it's, oh God, my. These are just the way these are worded, yeah? We just relay the information. It is believed that Ramos' first choice would be PSG, but if he was to move to the Premier League, Manchester United would be his preference.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Thank fuck. I mean, but as the way it sounds at the minute, PSG are buying everyone. They're getting Ronaldo, they're getting Varane, they're getting Ramos. They're not going to get all these people. Same with City. Like, there's been a £100 million bid lodged for Kane. Well, they were 2 weeks ago the favourites to get Haaland.
Yeah.
They ain't getting both. Do you know what I mean? It's not, people saying, oh, well, United aren't going to get Ramos because he's going to PSG. United aren't going to get Varane, he's going to... Well, they're not going to get both of them.
No.
I mean, they could, it's possible, but odds are PSG won't get Ramos and Varane.
No.
I don't see why they'd do that. And yet they're sort of the favourite to get both of them individually, which doesn't make sense to me. One of them's going somewhere else. We'll talk about Varane in a little bit. But like I've said before, I think Ramos would be a good signing. Get him on a year's contract with an optional second year, and hope that he's still got some legs on him, or hope that even without legs he's still good enough to improve on Victor Lindelof, certainly short term. I'd take Ramos. I'm sure United have spoken to someone about him, his agents, his team, whoever it may be. I'm sure they've said, how much are we thinking? Would you fancy him with United? Because he's one of the best players in the world. I know he's 35 and he ain't got much left in the tank, but if he's got anything left in the tank, he's an improvement on what we've got. So I think, I'm sure United are interested in, and I'm sure he's open to it, because why rule it out? If you're him, let your agent go to that meeting. You might be able to get 350 a week rather than 320. Who knows? But I think it's possible that we could get Sergio Ramos. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, he was linked with us as you mentioned earlier, a few years ago. It looked like that was a manoeuvre to get himself a better deal at Real Madrid, and it certainly worked because his contract was due to expire.
How dare you?
He linked with Manchester United, giving it all the sort of brief in the press. Oh, my dad's a United fan, I've always liked United and all that sort of jazz. And then Real Madrid offered him a bumper pay rise and he stayed there. Now it's a bit different. He's obviously leaving Madrid. That's done. That's over. After 16 years, he's on his way. When you leave a club like Real Madrid, there's only, for me, 4 or 5 clubs in the world of that stature.
Yeah.
And United are one of them.
Yeah.
PSG aren't.
No.
If you care about that sort of thing, you might not be bothered. But you've got Barcelona, which isn't going to happen, obviously. I think it's set in stone. He won't go to another Spanish club. You've got Barcelona, you've got Bayern Munich, you've got Juventus, I think.
Maybe Inter again now, but still not
I know what you mean. I still feel like that's a slight tier below.
The what was it, 7 titles in a row that Juventus won?
Yeah, and I still feel like, in terms of like stature in world football.
Yeah, over the last 20 years.
Yeah, I still feel Inter and, I know AC Milan are not where they used to be, but I still feel Inter and AC are just a little rung below Juve.
Right.
Just slightly. It's like the Scousers below us.
Yeah.
It's not, if we're being honest, it's not that much lower,
No.
but they're not quite at our sort of size, should we say.
Magnitude.
Magnitude, that's more like
Thank you.
Magnitude. So, if he did want to go to one of the true giants, he could come to United and maybe keep his dad happy. His dad's meant to be a United fan. But more than likely he's going to take a massive sort of pay deal, go to PSG. But, as you said there, are PSG going to buy both Real Madrid centre-backs?
No.
No. That's
Bumper package.
bumper package. You know all about that, don't you, son?
How dare you? This isn't some Manscaped sponsored. Hell.
Paying you a compliment.
Leave my bumper package out of this.
Fine. If you don't want to talk about it, we won't. It's just trying to be nice. So, I mean, look, it's a funny thing, Ramos, isn't it? Because you look at it and you go, 35, never played in the Premier League, probably not the perfect foil for Harry Maguire.
Silly long hair.
Yeah. Tattoos all over his hands. But it's Sergio Ramos.
I know.
And I'm sorry, but if Sergio Ramos signed for United, if you don't get excited about that, you're already dead. That is amazing. That would be one of them where you're like, fucking mint that Sergio Ramos.
Yeah.
Man.
And you get a Ramos fucking 5 shirt or whatever it is.
Yeah, you'd be absolutely buzzing.
6.
I mean, you know, the sort of luster may fade somewhat after his first few performances.
Yeah, a couple own goals and a red
You're
card.
like, actually, this isn't what we wanted.
Get rid of
what
that
we need.
excitement sharpish, wouldn't it?
But it would be mint, wouldn't it? Because
Yeah.
you've got like one of the great well, not one of the great defenders, one of the great footballers over the past sort of 20 years.
Yeah.
And such a massive player. Won, what is it, 4 La Ligas?
He knows everything.
He's won the lot.
If you think of a tournament, he's won it.
And also, he's been a big big game player as well.
Yeah.
Like you think, was it the
90th minute equaliser in the
Against
Champions League
Atletico.
final?
Yeah.
To get it back to 2-2, and then they won 4-2 in stoppage time.
I mean, what he did with Mo Salah as well.
Brilliant.
Genius.
Yeah.
Come on. Do you know what I mean?
Just look at the shoulder.
Yeah.
Like some sort of karate.
Hey, and he's getting offered out by blokes off Brookside.
Brilliant.
Mint. Petitions and all that going around.
So,
yeah. Come on, mate. Let's have a charity boxing match. I used to be in Brookside, some show you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Don't be a coward.
Yeah.
Stop celebrating your Champions League win and come and meet me in a car park in Bootle.
Sergio Ramos has donated more to charity than you've ever earned. So don't bring charity into
It's
it.
like a charity. Why don't we do that? Let's have a charity boxing
I'm sure
match.
he's doing fine for donating to charity.
Look, like, I don't think he needs to go down the route of fighting Scousers who used to be on the telly. So yeah, Sergio Ramos, it'd boil a lot of piss. It'd be a great name, but would he be the quality or the player that we need? Probably not.
No.
What about...
Still have him though.
I'd still have him. The romantic in me just says, yeah, just get him. Sergio Ramos in it. What about his partner in crime, Raphael Varane?
This is more like
Because
it, Jay.
there's updates on this as
Go
well.
on then, give me the updates, because this is a proper update.
This is a proper update. Real Madrid won 50 million quid for him, which to me seems...
I heard it was euro.
Well, I've got on my piece of paper,
Yeah.
I've got, on the graphic, we've got pounds sterling.
Hey, 50 million quid and 50 million euro. Pretty much the same thing these days.
Yeah.
Post-Brexit.
Nice. Hey, put that on the side of a bus. Real Madrid won 50 million.
And what I'm trying to say is the pound's weakened.
Yeah, I get it.
Oh, sorry.
Right.
58 million euros.
Yeah, right.
Similar.
Okay. I remember when I first went to Greece when it was the euro, and it was about 70p for a euro. So
now it's 78.
Yeah, now you can see.
Now it's as bad as 74.
I mean, you know, we made a big song and dance about not joining the euro, and where did it go? Anyway, enough of the economics and politics. Let's get back down to the transfer business. Yeah, whether it's 58 million euros or 50 million quid, that's what they want.
Yes.
Right. But we're saying, says the Mirror.
Okay.
Right.
Good.
And that's good enough for me.
Yeah, and there's also a source much closer to Real Madrid as well. It's tier 2, I believe, for Real Madrid, who was saying the same thing. So this is actually from reliable sources. Pretty big update, I would say.
Tier 2. What were we on last week?
Tier 1
Tier
transfer
1.
podcast.
Yeah. So you come on a Tier 1 transfer podcast, chat to Romano, and then a week later you're banging on about Tier 2.
What's happening tomorrow?
Hey, downgrading yourself, son.
Speaking
But don't
of
worry, I'm going to redeem you
Oh.
because we've got another Tier 1 journalist on tomorrow.
Who we got?
We've got Patrick Berger, and I did this last season, it did everyone's head in, but I'll do it again anyway. Not the former Liverpool player, but the man that works for Sport 1 over in Germany,
Yes.
and he's going to be giving us the latest on Jadon Sancho, because he is ITK with all this stuff. He knows exactly what's going down, so we'll be chatting to him about German football, also Jadon Sancho, any transfers that could be on the horizon, because there are a few players linked. We won't just get him on United as well, we'll get him on also what players could be coming over from the Bundesliga, because he knows all that jazz. So make sure you check that out tomorrow. I think that's going to go out tomorrow night after the England game.
Great.
Because, you know, a lot of people will be watching England, won't they, in the evening, so we're all right with that. We'll put it on after that. If you've got any questions as well, it's not live, but just fire them over to us, give us any suggestions, anything you want to know. Going back to Varane.
Yeah.
I mean, 50 million, just get it paid, innit? Do you know what I mean? Like, why are we trying to get Raphael Varane, one of the great defenders out there, who's 28 years old? Why are we kidding ourselves, or do you think it's reasonable because he's only got a year left?
I don't think we are kidding ourselves. I don't think we're kidding ourselves on price, and I don't think we're kidding ourselves on our ability to sign him. He's a great player. He's won everything. And as I've said before, Real Madrid aren't the team they used to be. But with this puts him firmly in United can pay that money territory. Because when you hear rumours before 60, 70, 80 million, we were never going to pay 75, 80 million for Sancho, which I do think we will pay at some point, and 75, 80 million for Varane. We were never going to do that. We don't spend 160 million quid on 2 players in one summer. I don't think we've ever done it. I can't see us doing it in the near future. But 75 million on Sancho plus 50 million on Varane, all of a sudden that's 120. You've still got another 40, 50 million left this summer, which you can spend on the defensive midfielder or the backup right back or whatever it is United need. 50 million quid or euros, depending on where you're getting your source, but roughly the same, is very affordable for one of the best defenders in the world. And I mean, he's been excellent again for France. He's going to make a couple of mistakes here and there, but he's a commanding, brilliant centre-back that has proven his brilliance for a decade. His only real question mark is his injuries, but he hasn't had as many injuries in the past couple of seasons, which is a great trajectory to be on, rather than someone who's breaking down as they get older. To me, it's like you said, a no-brainer. If that money is, if that is the fee, pay the fee, and then let Matt Judge do his stuff when it comes to getting a contract and stopping him going to PSG. But like I said before, PSG aren't just going to sign Ramos, Ronaldo, Haaland, Sergio Varane. They're not just going to sign everyone that's available. But for some reason, because they've got loads of money, people think on an individual basis, well, Haaland's probably going to go to PSG, isn't he? Well, Ronaldo's probably going to go to PSG. Yes, it makes sense on an individual level, but look across what their transfer policy is going to be this summer. It's not go and get both of Real Madrid centre-backs. They won't do that. And if they do, I'd be very surprised. Track record history shows that they won't do that. So one of these two is available. And I think we know United have been interested in Varane for a long time. I think Ferguson liked Varane, didn't he?
No, he did, you're right.
We know United are interested in him. He's the perfect age. He goes alongside Harry Maguire in that back line. I think he's left-footed as well, which is an extra thing. Maybe it might not be, but regardless of whether he's left-footed or not, we know Raphael Varane is a brilliant defender. And if he's available for 50 million, it ticks so many boxes for what United need and for what United can afford. And by the sounds of it, he's open to the idea again of coming to Manchester United, which would be brilliant.
I mean, again, like I mentioned earlier, you go from Real Madrid, you go to a club like Manchester United, it's a similar sort of stature. Manchester United as well, we should be able to sell this to Varane. We're not that far away. We finished second and it wasn't by a long distance.
No,
we weren't really in it.
No,
for that.
But it wasn't 25 points.
No, and it was. You can make it the case of, listen, if you come to Manchester United, you're going to be challenging for honours.
Yeah,
and I think that's a reasonable thing to say. Because,
we get to semi-finals all the time.
Yeah, and we got to a final, and if we'd have had Varane, we'd have probably won it. Alex O'Season in the super chat says, do you think signing Trippier would allow us to play a 5-3-2 with Telles being the other wing back to actually give us a chance to try a different shape?
I think this season Luke Shaw's proven himself to be better attacking fullback than Alex Telles. I think Alex Telles is a better dead ball deliverer. I think his crosses are excellent. But Luke Shaw's movement and penetration have been far and away better than Telles, in my view. I don't think Ollie wants to play five at the back. But I do think having someone like Trippier, we've seen him do it in the past, Ollie, so it's not like he'll never play it. But I don't think he wants that to be his number one formation. But someone like Trippier would help with that. But we've got to work on that £40 million asking price, because that's just too much.
I don't think we're going to make any sort of changes based on Alex Telles.
No,
I think he'll struggle to get any games next season. He might get a few in the Europa, or not the Europa, sorry, the Carabao Cup or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think he was just merely a short-term stopgap. I might be wrong, but I don't think, from what we've seen of Alex Telles, he's done okay. Yeah. But I don't think it's like, give Alex Telles a spot in the team or even the squad. I think there's other players there that are going to be knocking on the door as well. Mm-hmm. Even if we don't sign Kieran Trippier, we'll have to wait and see though. We're going to get into the fullbacks and the defenders who may be going out on loan quite shortly. Kirthi Chandra 40 says, imagine if we had Ramos versus Villarreal. Imagine if we had Maguire. You're right.
I mean, Maguire probably wins that header. The ball comes in, no one wins the header. People have a go at Lindelof. Fair enough, he should have won it. But when you think, and we spoke about this before, but when you think of the ball coming in, it's not as though someone gets beaten in the air. None of our players get beaten in the air for that goal that Villarreal score. The ball just comes in and no one gets near it. No one has to win a header, nothing. The ball just goes in front of all of our defenders. Harry Maguire is one of the best aerial centre-backs in the world, let alone, at United. I think someone like Maguire or Varane, who's more of an aerial presence than Lindelof, just make sure they get their head on that. Even if it's to deflect it wide, put it out for a corner, nod it back over your crossbar, whatever it is, no Manchester United player even contested that ball from that cross, and that's just not good enough. But anyway.
You know one player we could have done with in our defence?
Who?
Pau Torres.
Oh.
Take him out of their defence, put him in ours. We've got 12 men, they've got 10. We win.
We probably would win.
Yeah, hey, think about it. But on the Pau Torres front, Manchester United.
I like that.
I know, you see. And I'm amazed no one's thought of it earlier. Manchester United are making progress. This is a new one. Making progress with Pau Torres. This is broke this afternoon. It's coming out of a few different papers, a few different reports. It says here, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to sign a centre-back in the transfer window, as we've discussed in depth.
Ad nauseum
This evening. Pau Torres is seen as a more attainable option compared to Varane. If we're going to look at it in sort of preferences, I think, as Romano told myself and Mr. Smith last week, the top of United's list is Varane.
Yep.
Ramos is one of those we'd be happy to have him. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. But Torres is on that list.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad sort of backup option to be going for if we can't get Varane. No. Because Pau Torres is a class act, isn't he?
He looks to be a very good defender. Yeah. Like, he's one of those players that, I'll be honest, like, you know, it's not going to come as a surprise for me to say I haven't seen him play 100 games. But the sort of dozen or so games I have seen him play, he's a very sort of, like you said, class act. Yeah. Kind of, you know, silky manoeuvre. He's a big lad. Yeah. But he doesn't sort of come across as that when he's playing. He's not bulky, he's not heavy. Something, you know, Maguire can often look bulky and heavy, despite the fact that he's actually really good at bringing the ball out. He's just got a sort of a clumsiness to his movements sometimes, hasn't he, Maguire? Pau Torres isn't like that. He's very smooth on the ball, takes the ball out well, plays the ball very well. Yeah, I think he's a very good option. And like I said, he's sort of on the list, isn't he? So we've got Varane at the top. That was confirmed by Romano to us directly, so we're not going to forget it. That Varane is the top of the list when it comes to centre-backs. Pau Torres is also on that list, and he's been on that list for well over 12 months. Yeah. You were told multiple times by different journalists on the Tier 1 Transfer podcast last season that we are interested in Pau Torres. I believe we're still interested in him. I think this goes to show, to me, what United's transfer targets are this summer. We know it's Sancho. I think it's pretty much Sancho or bust on that right-hand side, personally.
Yeah, I agree.
No real backup options mentioned.
No, there was, you know, people were sort of throwing names into the mix. At one point, it was Kingsley Coman, and at one point, Leon Bailey entered the mix.
They mentioned...
even David Brooks at one point. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But these were very much, we've got a list of, you know, 100 players.
How much does David Brooks sound like someone that would act on Corrie, by the way? David Brooks, he plays Nigel on Coronation Street. But, you know, it's Sancho here and then it starts with Coman here. Yeah. For me, it's like we've got Varane, Torres and then Koundé a little bit lower. That's what it feels like to me. These are, United are really after a defender here, a centre-back. And as he said, maybe a backup right-back. And then after that, a defensive midfielder, which to me comes as a shock and a slight upset.
I almost feel like as a defensive midfielder, is more important than a right winger. Yeah. So I mean,
really,
I want Sancho. I'm not saying I don't. Yeah. I just feel like, given the choice, and this is, I'm not trying to be sort of, you know, melodramatic or reactionary or whatever, but given the choice of having either Mason Greenwood or even Amad Diallo on the right wing, and having a shit-hot DM, or having Fred and McTominay as the DM. And Jadon Sancho, I'd probably have a DM if it was, you know, a binary choice. Yeah. I just feel that without a proper central defensive midfielder, we're going to struggle next season. Yeah. And I think we can get away with Mason on the right. I prefer him to move into the middle, or, you know, Diallo's probably not ready yet. But I just feel like we need a DM, man. We really do, because I know Fred and McTominay have, you know, McTominay's been doing well in Euros, Fred's been doing well for Brazil. We just had so many games last season where our midfield wasn't up to scratch. No. And especially sort of on the edge of our own box. Yeah. That little sort of area there.
Well, I think it shows as well that in the bigger games, so many 0-0s, so many times when against the top opponents who not just can they attack well, but they can defend well, we can't break them down enough, often enough. Too many 0-0s. And a lot of that comes from, in transition, our midfielders who get the ball off the defenders don't have that pass in their locker consistently enough to break down these teams in terms of counter-attacks. We've got great players at the final third. It's that middle third where we do really struggle, and yeah, it's upsetting that it doesn't seem as though that's a priority. But then again, if you think the way United do transfers and what Ole has to work with here, he isn't going to be able to get 4 first-team players. It's 3 at a push. We got 1 last time, and that was Telles. Do you know what I mean? It ended up being Cavani, which was the other one instead of Telles. But I think only Telles was bought in as a first-team player last summer. Now we expect to get 4. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to get a right winger, a defensive midfielder, a centre-back and a right-back. That isn't going to happen. So I think we're going to get 3 at most, probably 2, and that's going to be our lot. But yeah, as you said, you made me think we need a defensive midfielder.
Yeah, I mean, I
over a
do
right
want
winger,
us to
but-
get a right winger. It's just that CDM sort of shaped hole in our midfield. It pains me next season.
Also, if you think, if we're being honest, Jadon Sancho is an obvious, brilliant option that ticks so many boxes on the right-hand side, who is available, he's young, he's English, he's lived in Manchester, all of these things, perfect. He works. In defence, Ramos is available, Varane is available, Torres is available at a good age. There are obvious good options at centre-back. Name me 3 obvious good options at defensive midfield that's going to cost you less than 80 million that could fit into United guaranteed.
I mean,
Declan Rice is one, but he's someone who, when you watch him, you're not blown away. No. He could be a flop at 90 million.
Yeah. He could be a massive gamble.
There?
I mean, and then you're getting into the sort of the gambles, the real risks. Like people say, Basuma from Brighton. I mean,
no guarantee you can make that jump.
Not at all. No guarantee. You come from Brighton where you've had a good season. Yeah. So a club like Manchester United, where you might even be asked to play as a defensive midfielder on your own. Wilfred Ndidi probably costs you a lot of money.
He's going to be 90 million.
Yeah. Tielemans, same thing, and you might argue he's more of an 8.
Yeah.
That's up for debate. Sal Niguez, again, Steve was talking about him earlier, he can play in the 6, but is he an 8?
Yeah.
And are you going to have the same issues you've got with Fred and McTominay where you're playing an 8 as a 6?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, in answer to your question, there isn't anyone who stands out and you go, 50 million.
He's
50
available
million
and he's proven.
Yeah, there isn't one, is there? Like, all the ones I've mentioned are either heavily priced or it's a big gamble and you don't know if they're going to be good enough. So, I mean, it just shows you as well, not just how difficult it is, but also how specialist that role is. You've got a great defensive midfielder. You've got a Fernandinho. You've got a N'Golo Kante. You've got a Fabinho, pains me to say it. Then you can challenge for titles. You can win trophies, Champions Leagues and all that sort of stuff.
But again, I think Fabinho was 30 million quid. It wasn't 90 million. Maybe it was 40, but it certainly wasn't 80, 90, which is what you're talking for Rice.
Yeah.
Fabinho just won the league for Monaco, being one of their best players. At 30 million, that's much less of a risk than Declan Rice for 3 times that.
No.
So I can see why United aren't going, we need a DM, because whilst we do need one, there isn't an obvious option that isn't a ludicrous price and still a risk. Like, Rice is a ludicrous price and he's still a risk.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do like Declan Rice, but you're right.
Of course, Sancho's still a risk.
I get what you mean, because it's like, he's had a good season. He's had a better season last season than he had the season before.
Yeah.
I thought the season before he was slightly overrated. I think this season he's lived up to a lot of his expectation. But he could come to Old Trafford, it could take a while to get going. If you pay 90 million quid for someone, you're not waiting a season. If you're going to wait a season, we may as well wait and give Jimmy Garner another loan and then get him back when he's 22, 23. James Paul in Super Chat says, if I could pick any DM in the world for us to sign, it would be Joshua Kimmich. Shame he'll probably never leave Bayern.
Yeah, exactly.
P.S. Joe is my spirit animal.
Thank you.
Just going to go through some of the comments as well. Yep. Christian Garcia says, Greenwood isn't a right winger. This was earlier when I said about Greenwood. I agree with this. He said it himself that he does not want to play right winger, wants to play striker. He needs to start getting played there so he can develop. Again, I'm not disagreeing with that. I just think, given the choice, even Diallo, I think, might be able to play some role this season.
If you think at the moment, Mason Greenwood starts most games on the right wing. Yeah. So he often gets subbed off as well because he's the least senior of the front line. Yeah. We can get into that another time. But if he's, as a striker, even if he's on the bench, when he comes on, he's going to get 30 minutes up front. Yeah. Whereas now, he plays 70 minutes a game, but it's all on the right-hand side. So he may lose some of his minutes, but he's going to be focused into that position that he's going to be picking up minutes more and more as his career goes along, rather than extra minutes, but they're not in the place he wants to be playing.
There was a real sort of development I felt towards the end of last season in Mason Greenwood's game. Yeah. I think it was underrated. Like, when he had to lead the line, was it against, I want to say Milan or someone in the Europa where he was on his own up front. I think as well, you saw it the way he sort of learned a little bit off Cavani, seemed to develop a little bit, was listening to him, took him under his wing. And I just think that is a player, Mason Greenwood, who has been raved about. And if we handle him right and don't mess him about and, don't cock it up, basically, then we could have a true star on our hands. Yeah. Because we've said this a lot with young players, and people always going about the class of 92. But people forget that whilst there has been the class of 92, there's also been players where we've gone, Kiko Makeda, Adnan Januzaj, Timfosu Mensah, where we've gone, trust me, this guy's going to be, and it's not quite worked out. But with Mason, you do get that feeling, don't you, that so many people are saying it, and also from what we see with our own eyes, he's only 19, that he's gifted, and he's probably been a bit unlucky, even though I'm kind of relieved that he's not gone to the Euros when you look at his end of season form. Hopefully,
get his injury sorted. If he can pick up half of Cavani's movement from playing with him for the next for the last 12 months and the next 12 months, pair that with his finishing, he's going to already be one of the best strikers in the league.
A bit of love for Scott McTominay as well in the chat. Scott McTominay, yeah, again though, he's not a DM. Can he sort of fit in that role? I know he plays there alongside Fred, and it just feels like we're just shoving him in there because we don't have a DM.
And even if he is a DM or whatever the thing is, he's not top quality. He just isn't.
No,
he doesn't control the midfield. No. He can't pass it well enough to keep possession in those bigger games. He's a good player. He could still improve, but we all know from watching him, he's not right up there, which is what we want our players to be if we're going to win trophies.
Michael Collins says, crazy how United spent 50 million on Fred. I know, I do feel like we're bashing Fred a lot, and I do like Fred, but it is 50, I think it's 52 million, wasn't it? Woodman was what, 4 years ago? Keep going down.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. No, about 3 years ago. We spent like 100 million when you look at it on Matic and Fred. I mean, it's not the best investment, even though, they've had good games for us, but I think you know what I'm on about. Should we move on?
Yeah.
This one should have been a tap-in, but now has become a saga, if you allow me to mix my metaphors, sort of. Kieran Trippier. It looked like this was going to be done, relatively easily. He wanted to come to United. United wanted him. He's 30 years old. He's not going to cost the earth. But now Atletico Madrid have slapped a £43 million price tag on him. I think this might be 43 million euros, but either way, it's a lot.
Here's one for you, Jay. Same thing these days after Brexit. Have I said that?
Did you know that when I first went to Greece? Forget that, we've done it all.
You mean Greg's? You've never been to Greece?
I've never been to Greece. No.
Been to Greg's?
I was in the play Greece at school.
Were you? Who were you?
Still spoke about to this day.
Who were you?
I was Roger, his name was.
You were Frenchy, you were.
No.
Come on, read on.
Says the La Liga champions
wig on.
want to keep Trippier and have given him a high valuation. Would United be better off giving Delot, Laird or Williams the opportunity? Discuss.
Try
not to wreck the set.
Delot, maybe. Williams, it looks like he's probably going to be going out on loan.
Yeah.
And Laird, I think he needs one more season. He's only really had 1 year as a proper first-team professional footballer. I think another one would be helpful for him. So of those three, I think Dallow's the one that's the most likely to sort of stay and play and get 15, 20 games. But even then, whilst he's a good player, is he actually that much better than Wan-Bissaka going forward? Is he actually that good going forward?
Delot.
He's all right. He didn't get bags of assists. Do you know what I mean? He's not like dead dangerous in the final third. He's a more attacking player than Wan-Bissaka is. But I don't think on any given game Delot offers you that much more than Wan-Bissaka does, unfortunately.
Oliver Edwards says, we've got to drive through Greg's in Manchester, Salford. What more would a player want? Erlen actually had the first drive-through Greg's in Britain.
Fantastic.
Just in case you're wondering.
Britain.
Yeah, it did. First drive-through Greg's in Britain. Erlen, mate. M44 on the map. Right. Yeah. Delot, it's like, he's one of those where he's a player that seems to have a sort of a fan base out there who rave about him.
Yeah, what is
and
that?
Again, I'm not quite I like Diogo Delot. He's a friend of the channel. He's messaged us a few times, and if it wasn't for him, Ollie probably wouldn't have had a job because he got us that penalty in Paris. But I don't think he's maybe done enough to really say this is, I'm a contender for this. Ethan Laird, the problem with Ethan Laird isn't his ability. He's as talented a fullback at that age as you'll see. It's whether he can stay fit. He's had some pretty bad injuries when he was like 16, 17, which can affect your development, obviously. But the best thing about him going to MK Dons was the fact he got a run of games. We know what he's capable of. Is he ready to come back into the Manchester United squad now and be a sort of squad member? Probably needs, like you say, another season. Yeah. Although I wouldn't be devastated if
I'd maybe give him a pre-season.
Yeah,
see if he can show himself.
I think Ollie might be doing that with a few of them. Yeah. I think he said that about James Garner as well. I know that's a different position. Brandon Williams had a fantastic first season, sort of exceeded expectations. Last season didn't feature a lot. Seems to sort of fall out of favour there. Maybe there's talk. We're going to get onto him a bit later on. Talk of him going out on loan. Again, though, we're not talking about a 35-year-old. These are children, basically. They've got a lot of football left in him, and it's a bit too soon to go, well, Brandon Williams is done.
No.
Ethan Laird's done. Diogo Dalot's a little bit older, and obviously he didn't come from the academy, he was signed, so it's always a bit of a different feeling. But I still feel like those two youngsters have got a part to play, and we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, Atletico Madrid, if they want €40 million for Kieran Trippier, they're tripping.
Yeah, because that's going to take away from another transfer, and he's a decent player, but the main attraction to Kieran Trippier is the fact that he's going to cost you less than 20 million quid, and if he isn't, it's not worth it, is it?
No, we're not doing that one. Let's move on. Paul Labille Pogba, your favourite topic. United have slapped Manchester United Football Club.
I know.
Have slapped, should we say, although it says set in the graphic, a 68 million or 68.5 million pound price tag on Paul Pogba. Juve are interested in re-signing Pogba, and United don't want to lose him on a free. There's rumours of a new contract. Do you think Pogba will sign or leave?
Of the two, probably leave. But I don't think he'll do either. I think he's going to play the next season and leave on a free.
Do you realise, right, I said this in the news this morning, and I'm sticking with it because I'm not changing my mind in the 10 hours or whatever it since I said it. That would be the biggest piss take in the history of football if twice Paul Pogba went to Juve on a free, and in the middle of those two free transfers, we paid 89 million fucking quid for him off them.
Yeah.
That would be like a joke and not a very funny one.
No.
Like, and that's, like you say, probably what's going to happen.
Basically a 5-year loan.
Yeah, for 90 million quid.
Yeah, I know.
And his wages were probably less when he went there as well. And they're probably like, yeah, I'll take pay cut, go back to Juve, not a problem.
Yeah.
It's like, we've proper been had over it, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't see him signing another deal. I hope he does, and I hope we actually push to try and get it done, because you always hear about these upcoming talks, but where are they? Yeah. Where's the fruit of these talks? Let me hear a contract negotiations have broke down. You know,
that's a good one.
I like that. Like, they need the RAC to come and get them. But I'd rather that over, well, we're not really sure we're going to offer... Because, what's his name? Herrera came out and said, United never really offered me anything until about 3 months before I left. Yeah. And that was basically the same money I was on now. I wanted 200 grand or whatever it was, and we offered him 130. Well, I can't remember the exact numbers, but not as much as he wanted, not as much as PSG gave him. And it was like last second. Like, oh God, do you mind staying? Well, no, because these have already offered me 200 grand. If you match it, I'll stay. Otherwise, no. Like, are we going to do that again? Just, his contract runs out next June, and we go to him in April and say, oh, he's staying for next year or what? Like, where is this contract? If it's not going to happen, sell him.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any point in keeping him around for a year, because, no offence to Paul Pogba, this is more of a problem with the team, or I don't think we are quite at the point where next year we're going to win the league. It's possible. We're closer than we have been. We're maybe as close as, closer than Leicester were when they won it, maybe as close as Chelsea were when they won it under Conte. The season before that, I think they finished 6th. So it's possible we're in the league next season, but generally speaking, if we're building this team for the next 5 years, having one last season of Paul Pogba, for me, isn't enough to go, we can win the Champions League or the Premier League with that team. I would rather get his replacement in now, and then in 2 years' time, really start challenging for those big honours consistently, rather than just having him for one last season, losing him on a free. Get 68 million where you can.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on Pogba. I rate him very highly as a player. It's a bit frustrating, some of the football he's missed. Last season was slightly better in terms of appearances, but he's missed important chunks.
He still
of the
missed
season.
a fat chunk of games at the end of January, whenever it was,
when
we were top of the league.
And we needed him. I remember me and you talking about if we had any chance of winning the title,
who do we need to
stay fit. Maybe we could have got away with, say, I don't know, Lindelof for a month or whatever. I think we actually had a Lindelof injury for a little while. But one player we could not afford to lose, or one of the players we couldn't afford to lose, was Paul Pogba. And then we did. And we lost him for a month. And as you said, by the time he comes back...
7 weeks,
by the time he comes back, title race is pretty much done. And that's the most frustrating thing for me about Paul Pogba. And it's not necessarily his fault. He can't help it if you get injured. But he has missed chunks of important parts of the season for us. You look at that first season when we challenged for the title under Jose, not the first season, Jose's second season. He missed an important part of the season then. And also things started going wrong with him and Jose, and he never really got back on track. So, yeah, I think... Listen, my main worry about Paul Pogba leaving now is we don't replace him. We don't invest that money into someone, who's going to come in and do a similar job. I think we might struggle to get someone as good. But yeah, if he goes on a free to Juve, it's just embarrassing. Yeah. It's just like we are a laughing stock.
To lose him twice like that.
Yeah, and to sort of to see it coming.
Yeah.
Like at least with the Juve one, there wasn't much. The first time, there wasn't much you could do. He was, he'd signed that short-term contract that all youngsters sign. Then when it came to sign a bit of a longer one, Riola got involved. Yeah. Fergie didn't like Riola. wasn't going to sort of try and match Juve's offer or whatever in terms of wages. Off he went. Now, though, we've seen this coming for years. This could happen. And let's not forget, Paul Pogba was a player that when we got him from Le Havre, they were unhappy about it. We got him as a kid, and they were pissed off because they'd nurtured him. So there was always that thing with Paul Pogba. You know, he's a player that will move on, and you have to be wary of that because we got him via that route. Paul Pogba didn't grow up in Eccles.
No.
Do you know what I mean? We got him from the club that had sort of moulded him. Then he goes to Juve. We get him back. And now we can't act too surprised if he ends up going again.
And again, this thing it comes back to as well, how bad we are at selling players.
Oh, we're fucking
like we've got
awful.
one of the most, again, not to boil him down to business, but one of the most sort of prized assets in world football. One of the most marketable people. He's, you know, good looking. He's one of the most famous players in the world. He speaks a ton of languages, so he's brilliant in it. You know, when you think of a business model, Paul Pogba is a PR person's dream. He can do everything. He's great on social media. Everyone likes, you know.
You're right to say this because this matters.
This matters to the business side of football.
So when people dismiss that, I think, no, you just got to look at it from a business point of view. Not
and
as a
also, he's a world-class footballer.
Yeah.
And yet, we are going to lose him again for free if we're not careful. We're so shit at selling players. Have you seen Chelsea just sold, what's his name, Tomori, for 30 million quid to AC Milan, who have got no money.
Yeah.
AC Milan have got no money, and they've just got 30 million for him. And we were scraping to get, 12 million for Smalling. I know he's a lot younger and maybe a bit better player. I'm not saying that he's not worth that. They got a load of money for, what's he called, Bakayoko as well. They got a load of money for him. We
Chelsea,
just get fuck all for everyone.
Chelsea
We're going to lose Pogba for free.
Liverpool do it.
Yeah.
They'll get rid of their resis for silly money.
Yeah.
For at least 30, 25, 30 million.
30 million for what's his face who went to Sheffield United, who hasn't scored a goal for them, Ryan Brewster.
Oh, yeah, Ryan
30
Brewster.
million quid for him, and we're going to lose Paul Pogba for free because we can't negotiate a £60 million deal or a £100 million deal last summer because no one's got the money. Well, they have when it's other clubs selling players. Napoli paid 70 million quid for that, what's he called? Fucking striker last season. I can't remember his name. Anyway, a young lad who's not really done that much.
Okay.
You'll know it is when you hear it. But Napoli, they've got money. They can sign a young striker for 70 million quid.
Get involved in the chat. Who was it the Napoli bought for 70 million quid?
It's something. IS is in my head. The letters IS in a row.
Okay.
Fuck's sake, I'm too mad to think.
Right, okay. Right, just before we wrap up, players going out on loan or potentially moving away permanently. Oshiman.
Yeah, that's it.
A few people said it. Brandon Williams, we mentioned him. He's expected to go out on loan. Does that make sense for you? Brandon Williams going out on loan?
Yeah, didn't get many games this season.
Yeah.
Not willing to give up on him yet and get him out of the club. Send him on loan.
Right, okay.
Do you disagree with that?
No, I want to see him in a club. I want to see him in a Premier League move.
Do
I
you
want to
think?
see him. Yeah, definitely. He could go somewhere like
Brentford.
Yeah, or say Norwich sold Max Aarons.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh well, we don't want to spend all that money on another right back. Yeah. He can play right or left. Yeah. Apparently, Bruce Cam says Southampton are after him.
That was last season, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
that's the level.
Southampton are a weird club.
Shit, but they're good.
Yeah.
They have 10 games a season where they're unbeatable.
Yeah.
And for the rest of it, they are relegation levels.
And then they'll get absolutely battered 1 week,
Mm-hmm.
and then still stick with Hasan Hudl. Right. So yeah, we've cleared up the Brandon Williams issue. Don't worry about that. Diogo Dalot, we spoke about him earlier. AC Milan loan rejected. If you want him,
give me the peas.
give me the peas, yo.
We know you've got
with a
money.
paper.
You just bought Tomori. We know you've got the money now. You can't go, oh, yeah, Gattuso's ain't got nothing. We know you've got money. You just bought Tomori, a Chelsea reject, for 30 million quid. You've got 20 for Dalot if you want him. No more of this. We just lend out players like they're going to fucking nursery and then we bring them back again. Oh, you're all right. We've got no money for you and you've got a year less left on your contract. If you want our players, give us some bastard money. And that has to be the rule going forward. It's different with Brandon Williams because there's a future, an idea that he could come back into the first team. I don't think that's the case with Dalot. I don't think he has a long-term future at Manchester United. Consecutive managers seem to not be interested at all in him. Mourinho wasn't bothered almost instantly after buying him. Ole has never made any signs that he wants Diogo Dalot at the club. If he's going, sell him. You don't just get him for an obligation to buy at the end of it. Fuck all this just having our players for free and we have to deal with them a year later.
He's a bit of an in-betweener, though. He's not quite a winger, not quite a full-back. You could argue he's a bit more like a wing-back but he's not quite strong enough in either of them. Final one that we've got is... Yeah,
not an option to buy, an obligation to buy.
Yeah, obligation. That's the
Option
thing.
to buy, they go, oh, sorry, it was good, but
it's
not
like
that
you
good.
can have him, but you got to buy him at the end of it. Right, and just finally to wrap it all up.
I'm happy now.
Tuanzebe, Axel Tuanzebe, he wants to go on loan.
Yeah.
To get more game time.
Well, we better get some centre backs in then.
He obviously had a great loan spell at Aston Villa. Came back, everyone thought, myself included, that he might be pushing for the first team. Had almost a season off because of injury.
Yeah.
Then last season, it was night and day, wasn't it, with performances from him?
Yeah.
Against Paris Saint-Germain, he looked like the best defender ever.
In recent memory, one of the real great recent, single performances of a Manchester United player in Europe in the last 5 or 6 years. He was stunning. Like, didn't put a foot wrong against Mbappe, one of the most feared attackers in world football. It was as good as it gets. And yet...
And against Istanbul, he got subbed at half-time.
Yeah.
Because he was shocking against the team that got relegated from the Turkish top league.
Did they?
Istanbul got relegated, didn't they?
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure they got relegated. I'm pretty sure they did. Get involved in the comments. I mean, that says it all, really, doesn't it? I mean, he got took off as well because he's that bad. Yeah. Demba Ba was making him look bad, which says it all. I thought Ben Demba Ba had retired. A loan move, hopefully, goes away on loan, does bits, comes back. This is a guy who was, I think he won the Jimmy Murphy Player of the Year. I think he did. I'm not 100% sure on that. Went at Villa, had a great loan spell, has shown what he's capable of, just needs a run of games, get these sort of injury issues done with, go and have a spell in a Premier League team, hopefully, shows what you're made of, come back, join Harry Maguire, win the treble.
Couldn't agree more.
That's how
the only problem is, if he goes, and at the point that next season when Eric Bailly gets an injury, because, odds are he's not going to go the full season without getting one, we are a red card, an injury, away from Phil Jones.
Can't we do what Fergie used to do? Where we loan him and go, but I'll have him back if I need him.
He used to always bring him back, didn't he?
Like
Beckham, just nip into the shops.
Beckham went to Preston and helped Preston look like they were about to get promoted. And then Fergie went, actually, no, we've got a couple of injuries. Brought him back and didn't even fucking use him. But yeah, I don't know if that's no longer a thing. Right, we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks for everyone who got involved in the chat. Thanks for everyone who got involved in the comments. We are going to keep you posted if there are any developments, any updates, any news on Jadon Sancho, on Raphael Varane, on Sergio Ramos, on Pau Torres, on any of the ones we've spoken about. Joe, where can people find you?
Joe Smith 93 on Twitter and Instagram.
Insta. You know where to find me, Jay Motti. In the morning, I'll be on the news. I think we'll do it live from here for about 10:30. So make sure you're checking that out. We will be speaking to Patrick Berger as well from Sport 9 over in Germany. What else we got lined up this week?
All sorts. We've got a watch along on Twitch for Portugal versus France on Wednesday. Big game there. Portugal could go out. Like, quite realistic. Like, Portugal got 3 points. If they lose that game, they will end the group on 3 points. Probably not enough to take them through in third. So that's a massive game, that is. Portugal, who looks stunning going forward against Hungary, have since got destroyed by Germany. Big game coming up on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Stretford Paddock. We're doing a lot more on there recently, so get over there. Follow us. If you've got Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free as well. Check that out. It's going to be good Wednesday night.
Nani won't let Portugal go out. He's too good for that. So make sure you're checking that out. Make sure as well you're subscribing to this channel. Hit the notifications bell as well, so you get the notifications when we go live and when we give you an update, which we always do. That's been Joe Smith, I'm Jay Motti. This has been Stretford Paddock Transfers Live. Thanks for watching.